James Gunn releases the name of the next Superman film, plus some insight to Zach Cregger's DC involvement. Ryan Reynolds finally admits something we all probably knew, and horror continues to rule the box office. All that and more coming up right after this. Welcome to Multiverse News, your source for information about all your favorite fictional universes. My name's Matthew Carroll, and with me on the panel today we have Jay Sisson. What's happening, Jay?
Hey, not too much. Just happy to be back together with the whole gang, ready to do a show.
Yeah, me too, bud. Me too. And J. Scotty St. Clair, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm back. Yeah, you can't keep me down. You can't keep me out. I'm here.
Started from the bottom, now he's here. All the things. And Haley Hobbs, what's going on?
Yeah, the boys are back in town. Well, I mean, Scotty, the boy is back in town. We're all here to talk about the news.
The boy is back in town.
That's what
back in town.
That's what we all call him, the boy.
The boy.
Just the boy. All right, well, let's get, we have a 5-star review, as we are very thankful for. Thank you for all the 5-star reviews, everybody. And this week is Mutiny Love. I like that name. Multiverse News with Matt, Jay, Haley, and Jay Scotty is hands down one of my favorite podcasts. Hands down my favorite podcast. I added the one of the, out of pure humility.
Distinction.
Yeah. Hands down my favorite podcast. You guys keep me in the loop on all the entertainment news that makes me feel like the coolest kid in the room, which is saying something. I work with nerds. Whether I'm in the car or powering through chores, this show makes everything 10 million times better. You guys crack me up. Haley is my fave, and I've recommended the pod to so many friends. Fingers crossed you do more than just Dragon Con this year. It'd be totally awesome to meet y'all in person. Keep the news flowing. You guys rock. Aww. Thank you.
Haley, your response to being put on the spot.
I told you guys ahead of the show, I was like, I was writing the outline and I was like, this is what it says, I promise. I didn't make this up. Super sweet, super flattering.
Oh, yeah.
Actually.
Very nice words.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great username, great review.
For sure.
Thank you.
It's great.
And if listening to this show and the information we provide makes you the coolest person in the room, you definitely work with nerds. That is true. That's true. That's the only kind of information we provide that will make you cooler with people is other nerds like us. So awesome. All right, well, let's get into our first story. Right after our episode last week. Damn you, James Gunn.
He knew what he was doing.
He definitely did. Our pal James Gunn dropped big news on Wednesday. The next Superman film written by him will be called Man of Tomorrow. Gunn, David Corneswet, and others involved shared particular artwork by DC Comics president Jim Lee that showed Lex Luthor in a mech suit to make the announcement. In typical Gunn fashion, the DC Studios co-chair has teased this film isn't a direct sequel, but is the next installment in what he calls the Superman saga. The film's title is reminiscent of the Milly Alcock led Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which releases next year. In other DC movie news, Weapons director Zach Cregger addressed rumors that have been circulating about his involvement with a Joker and Harley Quinn movie. Cregger called stories about him having written a treatment for the two iconic DC villains blown out of proportion, but did indicate that he had a couple of films he's interested in working on, though hasn't spoken to James Gunn yet. How do these bits of news make us feel about all of DC's tomorrows?
The Zach Cregger bit I found super interesting because when I read the article the way it was written, I interpreted it as he's not writing a Joker and Harley movie. But if you read it a couple of times, you could interpret it that he is writing a Joker and Harley movie. He just tried to get the spotlight off of it really fast. So even though I haven't watched his really popular things like Weapons and Barbarian, just the response to his films at the box office and the critical response makes me excited for him to step into this universe. So probably once James Gunn gets wind of this, because we know he's chronically online, he'll be like, hey, Zach, let's talk, and give him, who knows, the pick of what he wants to do. And a Joker and Harley movie would be pretty fun. How does it fit into this universe? does it really matter at this point? I mean, it just kind of seems like there's a plan, but the plan involves them making whatever cool things they want to make, so that's awesome. I did get a chuckle out of Man of Tomorrow when we have Woman of Tomorrow. I wonder if we're going to drop Woman of Tomorrow out of Supergirl eventually, and it's just going to be Supergirl, kind of like they did with Superman. But otherwise, just the general reaction to a Wednesday drop by James Gunn always makes me laugh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This thing's gonna be Superman 2 so fast. I thought the news drop from Gunn was strangely timed. First of all, the man is a machine. Like, he just finished making Peacemaker, and this thing's out. And I think a lot of this DC push. So, getting Superman out of theaters, getting it on digital, announcing a sequel, kind of laying out sort of the vision, I guess, for the universe in a way, like saying, hey, this next project is coming in July of 2027. I think a lot of it has to do with Peacemaker. I think he's trying to sort of drum up interest in Peacemaker. He's already talked about the huge DC Universe connections to it. And I think the move from Superman from theaters to digital so fast was in part to try to prop up Peacemaker and try to get more people to tune in. And I think this was probably part of that, because it was a little bit of weird timing to just kind of throw this out there on Instagram, of all places, on a Wednesday, and just with the art nonchalantly, like, hey, we're making a movie in 2027, which is a really fast turnaround. That means that this movie's going to have to shoot probably in like February, this coming February, to be able to, it'll follow basically the same schedule, I would imagine, as Superman, which shot from February to July and then edited for essentially almost a year before it was finally put out the next July. But man, he's just right back to it. Like, he takes no breaks. I mean, he's going to be right back into writing, which I guess he has not quite done yet. I guess he sort of insinuated that he's still in the process of it. But writing, directing, getting it out there, I guess trying to push the next phase of the universe, whatever that is, calling it a saga, and then somehow getting Lex involved again. I think it's hopeful if you are into his vision of the universe and you're into his vision of DC. But it does make for an interesting 2027, because I immediately thought, man, you know what else is coming out in 2027 right around the corner from July? The Batman 2. And it's just kind of interesting to think about, Superman and the Batman, if these are two separate universes, both DC, and we're going to maybe bring in another Batman, will we, won't we? It's in October. It's like October 1st or something. It's just right around the corner. It's a weird kind of thing that we're going to have to compare if they're in two separate universes and say which one did better, which one has more interest. Like, we're going to have to do that at some point, I guess. But it does. I mean, 2027 is going to be big across the board, and it's just another one on the calendar.
I think him calling it the Superman saga is interesting, just because saga has become so linked with the Marvel idea of like 3 phases. And actually, there was a quote from Kevin Feige that made me laugh this week. We covered it on MCU Cast, where he was like, he was talking about what they're working on now, and he's like, a phase or a saga is 3 phases, and we're working on the next saga right now. Like, we're working on what's going to be in the next saga, like 6, 7 through 9, I guess. And I just thought that was really funny, because in the past they were like, we're not doing phases anymore, like it's going to be a little looser, and now that didn't work, and now they're back to this rigid structure, like a saga is 3 phases. Like, it's like just such a funny metric. I don't know, it just made me laugh. And then to hear James Gunn be like, we're doing the Superman saga, which obviously saga just means like, a series of stories that are tied together, I guess, I think, like an epic story. Really just a story. But like, I don't know, I just think that's an interesting difference, and like how that will work in the zeitgeist. I think it's terrible if both these movies keep the of tomorrow titles. I don't hate either one of them, but I think both of them is going to be really confusing to people. And I think there's something in it where he's trying to make them all feel like sequels of each other, where you got like Superman, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, then Man of Tomorrow. Like, he's trying to tie all these movies together, but like, trust your audience a little more than that. And I think this titling convention is just going to make things really confusing.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we got the news like a month, maybe 2 months ago, that Supergirl had officially dropped the subtitle. And if I'm not mistaken, my understanding is that this new Superman film is not Superman, Man of Tomorrow, it's just Man of Tomorrow. Now, I could be wrong
Right.
on that, but
It is just Man of Tomorrow.
oh, okay.
Because I typed Superman Man of Tomorrow, and then I was like, wait. And I went back and checked, and it is just Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah, we are
Okay.
down to Supergirl. It is not Supergirl.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
See, this is
I had a feeling.
this exact thing is the problem, though. This conversation that we're
Yes,
having
So
right
they
now.
totally is.
referred to as Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. So, like, not
We
everybody
cover
has
this
caught on.
stuff weekly,
Yeah.
and we don't even remember.
Yeah, he's giving us too much information all the time, and it makes it all like this movie's called what? It smacks of Birds of Prey to me.
Well, sure, and I was kind of on record. I think when we first talked about Supergirl dropping the title, I was a little disappointed because I always like a subtitle that can kind of give you an idea or inform what the story is going to be. But the arguments that you've all laid out, I don't. There's not a lot of ammo on my end for this. You're right. It just makes more sense. It's cleaner. Let's just keep it to Supergirl for the simplicity of things. But, it is worth mentioning James Gunn has been long-winded about, touting what is going to separate his or differentiate his shared universe from so many others is that they're going to wait to go into production on films until there's a finished script. But it is interesting to me how quickly his projects seem to get the green light, right? Like Superman, Man of Tomorrow, Creature Commandos, Peacemaker. We're just rocking and rolling over here. And the only other things that are kind of in the works are Supergirl, which he's heavily involved in, and then Clayface, which I'm particularly excited for because I think it's going to offer something a little bit different here. But honing in on the choice to go with Man of Tomorrow and not have the Superman moniker there, and all these images of Superman alongside Lex, I mean, it does beg the question: who is the Man of Tomorrow? Is it Superman? Is it Lex? Are we going to get a movie that is more from Lex's perspective? I don't know at this juncture, but it's also worth mentioning when this announcement came out, there were a lot of other stars that kind of chimed in. Like you had Isabella Merced, who's our Hawk Girl. She voiced her enthusiasm. Aaron Pierre, who hasn't even showed up as Green Lantern, but we know Lanterns is just around the corner here. I think he said like yes indeed. So I think you take it at face value, but in my opinion, it's a pretty strong indicator that they're probably going to be participating in this film. And maybe that's why James Gunn was so resilient to not call it a sequel, because maybe it'll be a completely different cast of characters, where in the first Superman we were interacting with the Justice Gang. Maybe by Man of Tomorrow we'll really be in the throes of like at least a fledgling Justice League here, or a proto version of it. That's kind of my expectation. But to address the Zach Cregger news, this kind of came as a surprise to me, because I remember right when Weapons came out, there was a lot of buzz, and the story that I read was that Zach Cregger had come up with a script titled Henchman, and it was about a henchman that accidentally took out Batman, and that I think Harley Quinn and Joker featured in the story, but were not main characters by any stretch. So on the surface, I'm a little split, because obviously Zach Cregger is wildly talented. I've really loved both films that he's made. Weapons continues to be my favorite movie of the year so far. But I'm also like, I look at someone like Nia DaCosta, who she did The Candyman and then went on to enter the Marvel Machine. And I'm like, do we need every talented director that comes out of the woodwork? Do they need to get scooped up by a series or a franchise? I don't think so. But then again, I go back to what James Gunn said. Like, he has promised that they're going to be a filmmaker-driven studio. So again, it's not Marvel versus DC. I'm always going to love Marvel, but I have to be honest. If a filmmaker like Zach Cregger was to do what he's doing so far, if he was to make the transition to Marvel or DC, I'm a little more encouraged by his chances at DC and the opportunity to get to keep some of his creativity and artistry there. But a lot of things that are just pure speculation, and who knows if he really even wants to do it. He hasn't even had the conversation with James Gunn yet, but if he wants to, he could totally do it, and I'd be down for it.
I also don't know if I need another Joker movie at this point. Just seems like we've kind of had a lot. Like, it seems very oversaturated to me, from the Joaquin Phoenix Joker to the Jared Leto Joker to the Barry Keoghan Joker to the that showed up for a second, and I guess we'll come back to the it's kind of an oversaturated thing at this point, and I think if you're gonna feature that character, I'm more interested in a side character than a Joker and Harley Quinn led movie, I think, at this point, just because we've seen so much of that in other universes.
The real Man of Tomorrow is Jimmy Olsen.
Well, and that's I was thinking about this title, like Man of Tomorrow. obviously you think it's Superman, but I guess it could be something different. Like, what is the Man of Tomorrow? Could be asking that question, you know?
Well, and in the image too, they're standing together. Like Lex is in the suit, but like Superman's standing with him. They don't seem to be at odds. It almost kind of makes me wonder, if we're speculating here, kind of makes me wonder, like, is there a greater threat that Gunn wants to bring into this universe that, you know, Clark has to get the help of Lex or something like that? If you're thinking like a Zod or a Brainiac or something like that, some sort of external threat that could bring him back into the fold as maybe an ally for a time or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Maybe they might even start to, forgive the pun. Actually, it doesn't even work because it's Dark Side, not Dark Seed. But the way it's spelled, I always want to say Dark Seed instead of Dark Side. So I was going to say they're planting that seed. But I am reminded back when James Gunn first had like the comments like, "Hey, this is the Superman saga." It was right around the same time that David Zaslav was calling like it the Superman family. So again, looking at the moniker of tomorrow here, and there was that image that was released from the Hall of Justice that was like a mural that basically established like the history of superheroes within this DCU. And a lot of those were like, you know, time travelers from the Legion of Superheroes. So you look at the Man of Tomorrow, it could be like Superboy, maybe Brainiac 5 coming from the distant future to, you know, enter the fray. I could see it.
Yeah. It could be, you know, in this first Superman movie, there was a lot of asking the question of like, who is, you know, I guess like who belongs on this planet or whatever, like does Superman belong to this planet? And I could see a movie that sort of, especially if them two back to back facing off a bigger threat, like who is the Man of Tomorrow? Putting Lex and Superman against each other, but then also bringing in other characters, other metas or aliens or AI, like is AI taking over? Like kind of like who does the future belong to, you know?
Granny Goodness, of course.
Yes, that's right. Granny Goodness.
One of my favorite DC characters.
All right. Well, moving on to our next story. At the Toronto International Film Festival last Friday, Ryan Reynolds finally admitted the internet's worst-kept secret that he was the one who leaked the original Deadpool test footage in 2014 to the World Wide Web. Reynolds went on to say that Fox simply didn't seem interested in releasing a R-rated superhero movie, and his passion for the character led him to the extreme action, which he doesn't regret. Fans of Deadpool are likely forever grateful that Reynolds did what he did, which led to pressure on the studio to make the film a reality. In other questionable swings from stars both in front of and behind the camera, the Russos released a blurry image with the caption, #Doomsday is coming, via Instagram earlier today. Marvel likes to keep us guessing, as evidenced by gimmicks, old and new. Are we taking the bait?
Well, I can't escape the image of Marvel like envisioning us as these wide-mouthed bass, just like, you know, going hook, line, and sinker for these morsels here. But on the surface, they don't do a lot for me because I think, you know, the Deadpool reveal, I think I was more surprised that it wasn't already confirmed. I think we talked about it a few weeks ago, and I was just operating under the assumption that it was general knowledge. So that said, I do think the timing is interesting because not only have we been speculating a lot about whether or not Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool will be a part of Doomsday, but Ryan Reynolds is a little bit of hot water, and hot water might be a little hyperbolic, but he's getting a little flack, not only with his connection to Blake Lively and the lawsuit with Justin Baldoni there, but I saw a headline recently that he was at, I think it might have been the Toronto International Film Festival as well, but he was interviewed by like an adolescent, and he tried to do like his insincere, rude form of comedy on the kid, and it just did not land well, and he did not come out on the other side, you know, looking very well. So I also find it very interesting because we've often compared Ryan Reynolds to The Rock, and while The Rock is certainly making a case for himself in the dramatic performance side of things over here, I think he is similarly kind of experiencing, I think people have had enough of his shtick, and that's why he's making this transition. So I think I'll be curious to see if we see Ryan make similar moves in the future and maybe try to go for some more dramatic fare or just something with a little more substance. But I almost don't even want to touch the Russos thing because it's like I had to appreciate the fact that like I think they may be getting a little into their own heads, because it's like, okay, Doom is the hero of his own story, that we're basically making this for Doom what Infinity War was for Thanos. So as they're cooking up this origin story, I think they have lost the thread and don't realize that they have become villains themselves by releasing this image, because it's just nothing. It is a chalkboard with completely indiscernible, blurry pixels. Like, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. So I really, it does, I just imagine them like, ooh, we're gonna put this out there. It's gonna get the internet, in a flurry and a storm. And it just does, it reminds me of Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Like, particularly I can see Joe Russo just sitting back in his chair, like, wait till they get a load of me. Blurry image. Have fun.
It's the most unimaginative hashtag ever.
As soon as this image dropped, I sent it to you all, and I said, I think something along the lines of, I'm going to fight the Russos. And I mean that. One hand for Joe, one hand for Anthony. Like, we're going to get it on. No, I mean, it's, as people who cover this stuff and talk about it, it is particularly hilarious when stuff like this happens, because you have to sort of talk about it, but like, how do you talk about an image that's basically nothing? So I'm going to be excited to hear the MCU cast, Matt, whenever you guys talk about this, and the zoomed in sort of, trying what does it all mean conversation, and see how that goes. But yeah, the Ryan Reynolds thing, it felt more, it's not even a confession at this point, it's a victory lap, because it did work. I mean, they were not going to make that movie. They had no interest in it. The reason he put it out there was to try to drum up support, which happened. All the harassing of Fox that happened, and the trending and the conversation led to him getting that movie. And now he's probably third one on the way, breaking $1 billion in Deadpool and Wolverine, officially part of the MCU. So it is a really interesting lesson, I think, in marketing and in, I don't know, kind of doing your own thing and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely something that I think, it's like when you admit something like that, we're like, yeah, I mean, who else benefited from this other than you? It makes total sense that you did that.
Yeah. It's interesting because clearly he won, yes, he won. Deadpool got made. The thing was, this whole part of the MCU has been created, and a spinoff of the Marvel Universe. And it's got extreme power at this point, because it is one of the only franchises bringing in $1 billion still, and I really wonder what it means for the overall MCU. I've talked about it before. I think that once you start making content that is sort of like poking fun at or questioning the universe that you're creating, it sort of eats its own tail a little bit. And like, I don't know how Deadpool being in the MCU, as much as I want it, and I think it's important, like, I don't know, when you've got comics, you've got hundreds and hundreds of comics, you can love your own corner of the Marvel universe and love just that one little bit, or just parts of it, or different books, and Deadpool is just one of many. But when like Deadpool is the $1 billion franchise, and they try to do them every 2 or 3 years, some sort of big Deadpool thing, it's a big portion of the Marvel universe is like this sort of laughing at, questioning, making fun of the superhero genre. And like, I don't know if 1/8 of the Marvel universe is sort of poking fun at the Marvel universe. Like, at what point is that sort of like unravel what you're doing? Does it make you, do you lose suspension of disbelief because it's telling you how silly all of this is? You know what I mean? And I don't think they've crossed the line yet so far. I think it's been pretty good. And I love the first Deadpool. I think that one holds up better than any of the others, because it's able to make that pivot that we often talk about between comedy and satire of the thing and the farce, and then like real heartfelt emotions with the cancer diagnosis and all that stuff, like it's some heavy stuff in the first one. I don't feel like the second and third one kind of brought that together as well. I'm just interested to see how the MCU feels after you kind of deconstruct it and unravel it more and more. I mean, in many ways, the Multiverse saga is doing the same thing. She-Hulk did the same thing, like stepping outside of it, looking at Kevin, and like all that stuff. I think enough of that happening starts to make you. It breaks the fourth wall, like that's why you don't do that in a story, because it makes you lose your suspension of disbelief. But breaking the fourth wall is wonderful in the right doses and in the right parts of the story. But if it's your leading story that's making the most money, what does that do to the franchise, I guess? Are all the characters going to be breaking the fourth wall in a few years, you know?
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Like, where you lose sincerity, I guess. And that's part of the Marvel problem from the beginning. Like, I don't feel this way, but one of the things that a lot of people hate about Marvel, the haters, the Marvel haters hate it because of the comedy style where they're like quipping jokes, and it removes a lot of the seriousness. The like sort of the people who are Nolan fans or Snyder fans who hate the Marvel stuff, a lot of them are like, well, yeah, why is everyone quipping all the time? Like, not every character needs to be Spider-Man, you know? And I get that criticism because I do think at some times it can undermine the universe. If everyone becomes a Deadpool, that's a whole different level. And I don't think it can sustain that.
I don't think it will. I don't think you have Deadpool in every movie. I don't even think you get another Deadpool and Wolverine, probably. The reason that movie made $1 billion is because it was Deadpool and Wolverine. Would a fourth just Deadpool movie have made $1 billion? No, I don't think it would have. I mean, I just don't think it would have. You know, you get Deadpool like pulling down the reel at the end of Secret Wars or something. He's got to be used sparingly. With Ryan Reynolds, like, sometimes I think, are you just reminding Kevin Feige that you were Deadpool? Like, I think he knows. Or are you just saying this like to clear the air and not have to talk about this anymore? Or does it smack of, remember I did this and you guys loved me? I don't know. I could go a lot of different ways on why he said what he said, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. He was successful with it, and that's great for him, but he is, like Scotty said, he's not getting the best press these days. Just like I said.
Go ahead.
So all along. Anyway,
now you take your victory lap.
I'll take my flowers on Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively being terrible people. I don't know. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Deadpool in the future of the MCU. I don't think that with Kevin Feige back at the wheel, you get that kind of thing without it being very sparing, very like the end of Doctor Strange 3. It's over, you know, looking at the camera. He's going to be probably cameo guy, and if there's another Deadpool movie, I think it's a little outside of the MCU.
It's going to be Deadpool and Spider-Man. That's the next billion dollar maker for sure.
Oh, that's like a $3 billion movie. Yeah, that's like
oh yeah, we're sniffing 2.
No Way Home got real close to 2. And that didn't have Deadpool in it.
Yeah, it's fair.
Like I really do think that would cross the $2 billion mark if things stay the same, if there's still the same excitement around those characters, and we'll have to see what happens through I keep wanting to say Endgame, Doomsday, and Secret Wars.
I don't know. I think you'd get your Deadpool audience. I don't know if you'd get your entire Spider-Man audience though. You think about like your teenagers
Kids.
and stuff. They're not going to be going to see a rated R Deadpool, probably. You know,
I think a lot of teenagers will, but the kids won't. Yeah,
Kids won't,
yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain
not that it wouldn't be.
age
I'm not
break.
saying it wouldn't be successful. It would. It's just I don't know if you're going to get your whole Deadpool audience. I don't think you'll get your whole Spider-Man audience. I think you get a chunk of it, but
I wonder if they
the
would
whole
do
thing.
something similar to what they did with the Deadpool like Christmas special, where they made it so that kids could go see it. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yeah. They recut it with like kind of like the Princess Bride intro with the kids sick in bed. Like, let me tell you a story about Deadpool.
An adult Fred Savage sick in bed. That's really funny. I never watched it. I should, because it sounds funny. But I could totally see them releasing like a Spider-Man and Deadpool, like a rated R version and a rated PG-13 version that like probably wouldn't get as many theaters, but like could get kids out or something.
Easy solution. Every time Deadpool goes to cuss, you just have Spider-Man thwip his mouth shut.
I've said this all along. I think that the idea of Deadpool trying to curse in a more mainstream movie and getting bleeped and then complaining about getting bleeped would work really well. You know,
Sure.
like him running around cursing and in an Avengers movie in ways that, and you're like, he's like, what? I can't even make this motion, and he like makes motions with his hands and it's all blurred out.
but only once. Like if you overdo that joke, Like, you know, like
no,
it's like,
you set it up. It's like a
Do
three.
it
It's like the
once.
three joke structure. You do it once, you bring it back,
Yeah.
and then
don't need-
it's played for jokes in a couple moments. Yeah,
I don't
you don't
need
need it all
Ryan
throughout.
Reynolds showing up in every movie being like, what, I can't say the F word, what, it's Disney, oh, the mouse is censoring me, blah. Like, I just don't, like, I'm like, all right, dude, like, we get it.
Yeah.
Like, you drop cuss words and they don't, like, it's, you know. Just don't keep playing the hits, you know what I mean? Play them once.
They keep replacing my curse words. Watch. What the Feige? What is that?
God, ew, I hate it. What is the future of Deadpool without Ryan Reynolds? That's a more interesting question, I think.
He is as tied to that character as
For
Hugh Jackman
yeah, I mean, he's
is.
got decades still in him, but
Sure, yeah. If he wants him, he could do it for a long time.
he could just voice over.
Yeah, I mean, most set characters voiceover, I think.
Who's casting Ryan Reynolds to lead their movies right now, you know? Like, it's,
Ryan Reynolds
this
is
is kind of his
casting
thing. You know,
Yeah.
like, this is kind of his Hollywood thing right now.
I'm sure
Mhm.
Sean Levy will do something with him again someday.
Oh God, he's gonna be in Starfighter.
Yep, as Deadpool.
Thanks, I hate it.
Oh gosh, can you imagine Ryan Reynolds, but he's a Sith Lord, and he's just talking like Ryan Reynolds, but he's got like a hood on.
Let's just talk about this, okay?
He's like, well,
It-
you seem to have stepped onto my ship or something like that. It's
Yeah.
like some kind of like, it's like, God, please
Yeah,
stop
you got to put him in a mask again. Just make him like a Mandalorian. It's like a red and black helmet. All right, moving on to our next story. No last rites are being read for horror at the box office this year as supposed final installment of the Conjuring universe, The Conjuring Last Rites, raked in $84 million domestically this weekend for its opening. The massive box office marks the best for this franchise ever and the third biggest opening for a horror film of all time. Warner Brothers and New Line are laughing all the way to the bank, having projected a $35 million opening box office for a movie that cost about $55 million to make. The film's global take as of today is $194 million. In other Conjuring news, a series in development at HBO Max set in the universe took a big step forward today, hiring Nancy Wan as director, executive producer, and showrunner who will write the series alongside Peter Cameron and Cameron Squires. What do we think is causing refreshed excitement about horror at the movie theater and beyond?
So not only is horror having a moment at the box office, which it is, but Warner Brothers horror is having a moment at the box office. So, you know, you're looking at these horror movies from the year that we talk about every other week as having these big box offices, and then we say the budget, and the budget's really small. They're almost all distributed by Warner Brothers. And so I think if you're a fan of horror, you're very encouraged after this year because you have movies like Sinners and Final Destination Bloodlines and Weapons and now The Conjuring, which are doing great up against small budgets. And if you're a studio executive, you are asking your talent and your directors and people that you want to come make movies for you, how can you make me a horror movie? And how can you get this out under our name with this budget that's smaller than these big blockbuster movies that are costing me $150 to $200 million to make? You're telling me that you can make a movie for $20 million or $30 million and it can do this level of success and it has this level of a fan base out there that'll go see it. So you're going to see more of it. I mean, you're going to see a lot of investment in horror. It's kind of a gold rush right now, I think, and the low budgets are a huge part of that. I did look up Nancy Wan on IMDb. So she is going to apparently be leading this Conjuring series on HBO Max, which we've talked about before. It was confirmed, a while ago, I think almost a year ago, basically, that it was going to happen. But there haven't been any updates about it. And she's got a very interesting history on IMDb. She's been a producer on Jericho, Little Fires Everywhere, the Hulu series. She was a producer on Jessica Jones in 2019 for 13 episodes. A lot of just like shows like Supernatural, Everwood, like some of these kind of like shows that are on network television as well. So really interesting body of work. Not a lot of horror sort of centric stuff, but just kind of a really interesting choice. But I think it is encouraging, though, if you're a fan of the franchise, because this series is moving forward. And obviously, right, if you're Warner Brothers, you're you're excited about this. You want more Conjuring. You don't want the series to be wrapping up. You want an expansion of this universe at this level of success.
Yeah. It's just so interesting to me to think about like why horror is so cheap. And it really is. A lot of it is just like you think about what has to be on screen for a horror movie to be effective. And it's just so simply like a still image with a slow move in of a camera can add so much tension. And then you think about the whiz bang of a superhero movie and the insane, intricate shots you need. And it's just like, yeah, of course these movies it cost so much less to make and they can get you to the desired effect with way less production. And I just think it's neat. It's neat to hear this. And I wonder if horror is having sort of I feel like over the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years, there's been a lot of horror sort of uplift going on. A lot of people like looking at horror as art more so than there used to be. I feel like it used to be a lot more of a niche thing to think of horror as like a really artful thing. And over the last, like, I don't know, like I said, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, there's been a lot more of that, like really looking at horror as an art form and like really putting it on the same level as other kinds of movies. And you know, I think that sort of ebbs and flows in different genres where it's considered schlock and then it's sort of like, oh wait, that schlock had beauty and simplicity and interesting elements. And like, I think horror is reaching kind of a peak with that. And I think that might be part of what's going on when driving all this love in the theaters and the theatrical experience for horror. It's like comedy and horror are like the two, I feel like they're most, effective in a theater.
I think, too, you're getting filmmakers who are elevating, in a lot of people's minds, elevating the genre, like Ryan Coogler, like Zach Cregger, who are taking it to, you know, if you ask me, is Sinners a horror movie? I'd almost say no, because it's kind of not, in my opinion. Like, it's like a secondary element to that film. There's a lot of other things that to me are more primary, but it is categorized that way. And so Ryan Coogler making that film what it was, I think that's been a trend. And there have been other directors who I think are doing the same thing. And I think too, just like speaking to your audience in a different way where it's not just jump scares for the sake of jump scares. It's more that tapping into that psychological thing of why people like to be scared and why they like to see the movies. I think these directors are probably hitting that on the head really well.
I really don't have an answer as to why The Conjuring: The Last Rites did as well as it did, but I can't wait to kind of, you know, read the tea leaves in hindsight and be able to extrapolate some reasoning for this. But I think all of you kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of just like a renewed interest in horror in general. And I think it's one of those franchise or genres that kind of ebbs and flows. While we certainly saw superhero movies become like the most popular genre amongst every age group for a while. I remember back when I was in middle school, like 13, 12, 14, everybody would get excited when there was like the Final Destination 2 when that was coming out. I remember everybody making plans to go see that in groups. So I really will be curious to see what the age demographics for who turned out for The Conjuring: The Last Rites are, because also it's the fifth movie in the franchise. So I think that, you know, that's something to be said there. This is a long running franchise, and I did not go see The Conjuring: The Last Rites, but I will. And I was thinking back in my Rolodex, I've actually never seen a Conjuring film in theaters, and I don't know why. My last opportunity was the last one was The Devil Made Me Do It, and that was one of our famous day and date releases, so I was able to watch it on HBO Max. So I did make it out to the theater, though. I only saw one movie this weekend, and I saw Twinless, which is starring Dylan O'Brien. And the main reason that I saw it, I went into it completely blind, hadn't seen a trailer. I just heard that there was strong buzz coming out of Sundance. And I got to say, it's a top 3 film of the year for me. So, you know, Weapons, Sinners, and now Twinless. So I'm highly, highly recommending it. And just that goes to show that we were kind of entering that time of year where the award contenders are going to kind of start to come out, and if you don't catch him now, you're probably going to have to wait till January or after. But yeah, Dylan O'Brien, I've liked him in everything I've seen him in. The most recent thing was Saturday Night from last year, where he was Dan Aykroyd, and I thought, you know, he doesn't look anything like Dan Aykroyd, but he really did a good job embodying him. And yeah, Marvel, DC, or Star Wars, somebody needs to scoop him up. And I know I probably sound hypocritical when I was just saying, Zach Cregger doesn't necessarily need to get scooped up by one of these franchises, but I'm telling you, Dylan O'Brien has the chops.
I meant to comment on that earlier when you mentioned it, Scoots, about not wanting these directors scooped up by the big franchises, and I definitely understand where you're coming from with that. But I think it's, if as long as you're balancing your career, kind of the one for them, one for me thing that you hear actors talk about a lot. I think it's kind of great if it elevates the franchises by getting great directors in. It allows them to make all the money, the FU money they want to do, so then they can go make those real passion projects instead of just like struggling through making independent project after independent project that never pays off, So I think there's a symbiotic relationship there that I think can work for directors and actors.
And that's fair. I cited Nia DaCosta as kind of one of the examples where it did not work out that well. And I do like the Marvels. I'm not crapping on the Marvels. I do think it's a film with issues, but overall I do like it. But then I think you can look at another example with the Eternals, where, again, it's a film with issues, but I think my favorite and the best parts of the Eternals are the elements that Chloe Zhao clearly lent: the camera work, the imagination, the visionary spectacle. So, yeah, you're right. There's a time and place. I just always get fearful. I feel like there was a while where it was just like Marvel was like, oh, they got it. Let's scoop them up.
Mm-hmm.
Chloe Zhao actually talked about Eternals not that long ago. I don't remember where I saw this quote from her, but she was talking about how the unlimited budget made it more difficult to make that movie. And a lot of people are kind of, they have to sort of, a lot of people are talking about Eternals, right? Because their career was wrapped up in it, like Kumail Nanjiani. We talked about him last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever, trying to kind of backtrack some of his, sort of involvement with it and kind of talk about, whatever. But Chloe Zhao said the same thing. She was like, one of the issues with it is that the budget was basically unlimited. Like, if I wanted to shoot anything in my mind, that I could ask for it and it would happen. But the issue is, take this however you want, but if I have to shoot on a street corner, I have to make that street corner work. And there's a certain part of like making a film that, there's the idea of restricting your budget brings out a certain level of creativity that she felt like she couldn't bring out when her budget was she basically had an unlimited credit card to sort of shoot this movie. It was a really interesting quote, and I'd encourage you to go read the whole thing and kind of read that whole interview, because I don't think she's crapping on it at all. I think she's offering a really unique perspective about, somebody who made this thing that was so well received and then given the keys to the kingdom with Marvel and given an unlimited budget. And then that is not necessarily a good thing, right? It can be a challenge that can be difficult to get around.
Interesting, because look at Ryan Coogler as an example of, Black Panther was one of his first films, and that's a huge film. And he did an that's very interesting, like creative to creative, that's different. Yeah. Right?
Totally.
That's
fascinating. That is an interesting comparison there.
Yeah, I do. I commented on this when we covered Sinners, but I think that Sinners itself seems to me to be about being a creative person and having people's hands on your talent and wanting your talent and desiring it and snatching it up and using it for your own purposes. And I think that I joked, I think when we covered it on something, I don't even know what podcast we covered it Sinners on, but it's probably Avengers Assemble. I joked that Sinners was Ryan Reynolds contending with his experience with Marvel.
Ryan Coogler.
Who did I say?
You said Ryan Reynolds.
Damn it. Damn it, Ryan Reynolds.
I'd backtrack that one.
I appreciate you. Ryan Coogler, Ryan Coogler working through some of his Marvel experience where he puts so much of himself into that, but it's going to this machine that sort of, churns it up and uses it for its own purposes, I just think that's so I think this whole experience we're talking about with directors, I think they all kind of experience it on some level, because you are becoming a part of a bigger thing that isn't all your vision, and you are not the final say. And what does that do to you as a creative?
All valid questions.
All right, well, when we come back, we have a big lightning round for you guys. The paper already gets renewed. Knives Out 3's trailer has arrived. The White Lotus goes to France. And we have a new Lara Croft. Plus, much more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Multiverse News. Guys, we have a Patreon, and Jay Scotty's going to tell you about it. What's going on? That's a Patreon, Jay Scotty.
All right, there was a request that I do the Patreon plug as Ryan Reynolds doing Mint Mobile. So here we go.
I'm going to take my
Oh, hi there. Didn't see you there. Did you know we have a Patreon? If you're listening to this show, you probably did know that we have a Patreon, but I don't know why you haven't joined it yet. You're missing out on all the perks that we have over there. You're entitled to a sticker. You get to participate in member-only polls. We also have our live stream that gets taken down from YouTube. You get exclusive access to that, and it's better than Mint Mobile. What can I say? You're getting a better value than you ever would with 15% or $15 a month over at Mint Mobile. It's less than $1 an episode if you do the math. So join us over on Patreon and make Deadpool happy.
Why is it so good?
So good.
It was so good. I hated it so much.
If I closed my eyes, I can see him standing in that stupid brown cardigan and just giving that exact monologue.
So, guys, think about Jay Scotty and the commitment he just gave to that bit.
Sacrifice.
And he went full. He went full Ryan Reynolds to give us the Patreon plug.
That was a Faustian deal.
Right. So go give him some cash for his efforts at patreon.com/multiverse newscast. Help the show grow, because you got commitment like that over on this show. Mm-hmm. All right, and our patron of the week is Tim McManus. Special thanks to Tim McManus. Thank you so much.
Yay, Tim.
And our Spotify poll. Let's move on to our Spotify poll. Do you think any of the main characters from the Skywalker saga should appear in Starfighter? And 40% of you said yes, and 60% of you said no. What do you guys think about this? Do you guys think that any should appear in Starfighter?
No, and I was surprised at that 40%.
I was too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty high.
I
just don't need more Star Wars cameos. That's not a plot point for me. That's not something that gets me excited. If Chewbacca shows up or whatever.
But do you want a Deadpool cameo? Because gang,
tell me
it could
more.
happen.
What would that sound like, Jay Scotty?
My name's Ryan, too. I can't do his voice.
Oh, man.
Red 5 standing by.
Oh, God. It's going to haunt me tonight.
I do think this is interesting that 40% people think that should happen. I don't think it's a real clear answer. I mean, just should appear. I could definitely see any kind of cameo, or just a mention of what happened with the downfall of the First Order or something, some sort of connection to it all. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Could be more than that.
No, I do side with the majority here. I kind of agree that it's better to make Star Wars expand rather than making the universe feel smaller, right? But we had a commenter, and I'm sorry I don't have the comment right up in front of me, but they kind of pitched what if you use this as an opportunity to bring back in Finn? Because John Boyega never really got his due in that trilogy that we had. I would be open to that if you want to bring him in, give him a scene or something that sets his character up for future adventures or something like that. I could be down for that.
But does John Boyega want to be back in Star Wars?
I think he's open to it. I think his comments on Star Wars have been a little more kind in recent years.
Yeah.
I think, everybody's wallet starts to get a little light.
That's true. It's been a few years.
Well, let's move on to our lightning round. This is where I'm going to read a story, and then we all have the chance to shout out our names to claim that story. We'll comment. Then we get to comment on it. If you don't win a story by claiming it with your name, you can get one rebuttal per lightning round. So here we go. The Office spinoff The Paper, which debuted its first season last week, has been renewed for a second season on Peacock.
Jay, makes sense. They don't have a lot of original shows on Peacock, like we mentioned last week when we were talking about The Paper. And me and Haley are going to talk about The Paper on Always Watching, and so I started watching it. Haley's been watching it, and it is excellent. It's really good. And if you like The Office, I think it speaks to you in ways that The Office did when it was on. And I think that don't knock it before you try it. If you've been thinking about trying it and you like The Office, I think there's something to love here. And I think it makes all the sense in the world to renew it for season 2, just based on what I've seen so far.
Sweet. Sony Pictures has released the first trailer for Nia DaCosta's 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, the follow-up to this year's 28 Years Later. The film is set to release on January 16th.
Scotty, this episode in retrospect will be referred to affectionately as the Nia DaCosta episode because she's been mentioned so much in this episode. But,
Go Nia.
yeah, absolutely. This trailer was a fever dream. It was like an absolute fever dream, and I think what it all culminated in Ray Fiennes' bald character just dancing as flames go up around him. So certainly looks like it's going to be exploring some interesting territory for the franchise that was set up in 28 Years Later, which released earlier this year. Now, it is interesting to me that 28 Years Later released in June, and then we have this one releasing in January. And I don't know if that's just because they were filmed in such close proximity to each other. A lot of times January is not a great release, but I'm not taking this as the nail in the coffin that January releases often can be. And I'm excited for the continuation of this one. I know when I talked about 28 Years Later, I talked about how much the last 5 minutes lost me. And it does seem like those last 5 minutes are going to pretty heavily inform the events of this film. But I'm hoping it'll be a case where in retrospect, I appreciate those last 5 minutes and 28 Years Later more than I do currently, because I don't at all.
I like the open mind.
Yeah. Prime Video has confirmed rumors that Game of Thrones alum Sophie Turner will play Lara Croft in its Tomb Raider series from creator, writer, and showrunner Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Production on the series will begin in January. Matt? Take this. I just love Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She's awesome. Great writer. She's Fleabag is amazing. And I loved her in the Indiana Jones movie as much as like that movie wasn't amazing. Like her appearance in it was great. And so I'm excited to see what she can do with this. And I don't Sophie Turner, cool. Like, I think it seems like it's going to be a different take on Lara Croft, both from the who's writing it and who's acting in it, and I think that's cool. I think it should be really neat. John C. McGinley has joined the cast of ABC's Scrubs reboot and will reprise his role as Dr. Perry Cox from the original series. He joins fellow returnees Zach Braff, Sarah Chalk, Donald Faison, and Judy Reyes in the cast.
Haley, can't have Scrubs without Dr. Cox.
Yeah. Matt Buttles. I forgot what I was supposed to say. I wondered how they were going to handle this, and like I've been rewatching Scrubs lately. Man, that show, like it is of its time. I like it a lot, but like, yeah, I like it a lot, but there's definitely jokes that don't hold up, and like characters that don't hold up and stuff. But I have always loved Scrubs. But I was wondering if they didn't bring back Dr. Cox, if they could make like Zach Braff, having been years as a doctor, if he might start out the show as a little gruffer or something and like be giving his interns a hard time and then sort of realizes what he's doing, you know what I mean? But having Dr. Cox back is even better. Love it. The White Lotus creator Mike White and HBO have zeroed in on France as the location for upcoming 4th season of the hit murder mystery comedy drama series, sources tell Deadline.
Haley, France is a nice change of pace. They're still doing not like full tropical, but they're going to a resort that's in Nice, France, so it's by the sea, so still the same kind of vibe. But yeah, this actually renews my interest in the White Lotus, because after the Thailand season, this last season, I was kind of like, I'm kind of over it, but I'll go to France. Let's go to France.
Two-time Academy Award nominee Djimon Hounsou has joined the cast of Amazon MGM's reboot of Highlander, The Hollywood Reporter has learned exclusively.
Okay, now I've become like the Highlander person for no reason on this
Highlander
podcast.
girl, get in here.
I don't even, and
it's
this
your
one I
favorite.
don't even know, actually. I'm kind of like, I'm not sure who he's going to be.
Outlander, Highlander?
It's similar, but very different.
The first trailer for Rian Johnson's upcoming Knives Out film Knives Out Wake Up Dead Man has been released. The film is set for release in select theaters November 26th before its streaming debut December 12th.
Scotty, Josh Brolin was unrecognizable in this thing for the first
Totally.
2 minutes of this trailer. Totally. I thought he was John Malkovich until it said his name and he turned around on screen. I thought it was John Malkovich, but it was a good trailer. I know we got the sizzle reel, like the barely even a teaser, like a few months ago that gave us, some inclination about at least the setting and the characters. But I was actually reminded. I mean, it should have been obvious with Benoit Blanc in the previous films, the time period that he lives in. But I guess for some reason I had in my mind, based off that sizzle reel, that this could be taking place in like a Gothic period or something like that. But obviously not. It's present day. But I think the setting does make sense why I was kind of operating under that assumption. Just this Gothic Southern setting. And Josh O'Connor seems like he's going to be hilarious. I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff, but Challengers comes to mind, and he had a few chances to be comedic in that, but it really seems like he's going to be leaning into the comedy in this one. And it seems like it's a good vehicle for him.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm in 100% on this one. Last week, Alien Romulus director Fede Alvarez revealed that he will not return to direct a follow-up sequel to the film, but that he has finished a script and he will serve as a producer alongside Ridley Scott on the project after a director has been chosen.
Scotty, this could seem disappointing on the surface, but I'm actually not that disappointed on it. I was kind of trying to go back to look at Fede Alvarez's filmography and body of work, and while he has certainly contributed to franchises and series and done sequels in that regard, he hasn't directed a lot of like direct follow-ups or sequels. Even like Don't Breathe was his baby, but he only co-wrote and co-produced that. So I think it speaks to his proclivities as a filmmaker. He probably doesn't want to get stuck directing in one universe or one franchise for too long. So I say good on him. If he wants to spread his wings and go elsewhere, good on him. But I'm glad that at least he'll still have a hand in this universe, because I loved Alien Romulus, and whether or not the continuity and canon feeds with what's happening on Alien Earth right now, that can be debated. But I think we're living in a great time to be a fan of the Alien franchise between the films that we're getting in this series on Hulu right now. So whoever they get, I have to imagine that Fede's going to have a big say in that. So even though it seems like a loss, I'm going into this with still a fair amount of confidence.
I'll get in to say too real quick that he did contribute to writing the script, which is finished. So, if you liked Alien Romulus, which he wrote, he has written and packaged this script together. So I think he'll still be heavily involved. They're just trying to find somebody to direct the script that he wrote.
Sure. Maybe it's Ridley. Give me my franchise.
Get him back in the chair.
Lionsgate is fast-tracking a sequel to the 2015 film The Last Witch Hunter. Vin Diesel and Michael Caine, who starred in the original film, are currently in talks to reprise their roles.
Scotty, Michael Caine is coming out of retirement at 92 years old to do this sequel to a 10-year-old film. What the hell? Make it make
Starring
sense.
Vin
None of it makes
Diesel.
sense.
Yeah. He needs money.
Yeah. He's trying to set up the family for success.
It's all about family. Vin Diesel wants a fantasy sci-fi franchise to work so bad.
Oh, he does. He's begging for it, man.
So bad. All the Riddick stuff that he did, and like people like the Riddick series, and it's got an interesting series for sure. And like this is, I feel like another one where he's like, let me be something other than a car guy. I want to be a witch guy.
I think too, a lot of studios are probably trying to comb through their IP for like high fantasy type adjacent type stuff too, like because that is big right now. And you're seeing like Amazon's doing Fourth Wing, right, Haley?
Yeah.
Right. So you've got that, and you've got like the Lord of the Rings kind of coming back, and you've got like, I just think that's kind of a move right now. It's just how do we kind of find the fantasy IPs? And then New Line looks and they're like, well, we got one right here. It already has a movie. I guess people want a sequel. I don't know. But what's stopping us from bringing this back if it already has a fan base? So I think that's probably the move here.
Does it have a fan base?
Your guess is as good as mine.
They're making it.
Don't talk shit about The Last Witch Hunter. That's my favorite movie.
I know. I think you were going for Vin Diesel, but you landed on
Kinda.
Rocky, like solidly Rocky.
Hey, like The Last Witch Hunter. What are you going to do about it? Hey.
Last Witch is Sylvester Stallone's favorite movie.
Have you seen it? It's a work of art. It's a masterpiece. I don't know what they're doing over there, but it's good stuff.
If you haven't seen it, how are you going to talk about it? How long can we go on this, by the way?
Let's not
Elijah Wood is in this movie. I'm looking at the IMDb right now. What is Elijah Wood doing in this movie? This was in 2015, too. Like, that's not that far off of Lord of the Rings. Yeah. And he was in The Last Witch Hunter.
I really love the idea of a Sylvester Stallone character that's just like an apologist for movies that other people just haven't seen. Like, really, it's underrated.
Did you see Alto Knights? Then shut the hell up, okay? I didn't either.
Yeah, you don't have to have seen it to inhabit that Sylvester Stallone character.
I'm deep in this right now. You guys have to know I'm on the Wikipedia page for The Last Witch Hunter. And R&B singer Ciara covered Paint It Black by English rock band The Rolling Stones for the film. So, we're talking serious star power and the soundtrack.
Okay.
Nice. All right. Jason Fuchs, the screenwriter behind such tentpoles as Wonder Woman, It, Welcome to Derry, and Argylle, has been tapped to write the live-action feature adaptation of My Hero Academia based on one of the best-selling manga series.
Scotty, My Hero Academia is a show that we covered extensively over on Animation Deliberation. I feel like as long as we were doing that show, there was always news about this live-action adaptation that was in the works, but this seems like the most substantial news behind it yet. I'm not super familiar with Jason Fuchs, but it does look like he's pretty steadily employed by Warner Brothers between Wonder Woman and Welcome to Derry here. Argylle does seem like the elephant in the room to me a little bit, because I can look at Wonder Woman and I can look at Welcome to Derry and I'm like, okay, we've got superheroes, we've got a young cast. That makes a lot of sense for My Hero Academia, because it's effectively like X-Men, maybe a little more juvenile than X-Men. You've got kids that are like entering like their freshman year of high school. Maybe think like something like Superhero High with Kurt Russell, like back in the day, but with a little bit more seriousness taken. Yeah, Sky High. Yeah, that's Sky High, not Superhero High. Sky High. Thank you. That's the one with Michael Aaron Guerin. Yeah, think that, but a little more serious with a little more character development. So, yeah. When it comes to live action anime adaptations, there have been a lot more misses than hits, but again, we are kind of coming off of One Piece and the success that it's had over on Netflix. So hopefully we're entering a new era where anime adaptations can kind of join the ranks of video games, where they don't instantly have stank on them. We can kind of at least give them a chance.
Indeed. All right, well, that's our show, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. Let's go around and tell people what else we got going on out in the verse. In the multiverse. Jay Sisson.
Commute the podcast weekly, and we'll start dropping the paper reviews here very soon on Always Watching. So we're going to do 2 episodes at a time, and that first episode should be up real soon. So just keep an eye on that. If you're watching the paper, if you're thinking about watching it, maybe go catch the first 2 episodes, and then come hang out with us over there.
Sweet. J. Scotty St. Clair.
Yeah, also over on Always Watching, we have coverage for Peacemaker Season 2 and Alien Earth, so it is a lively and good time over on the Always Watching feed.
Yes, it is. And Haley Hobbs.
Source Pages was on a break this week again, and we'll be back next week talking about Star Wars The High Republic Phase 3, the end of that big publishing run that they did, and then also on Always Watching with the Outlander coverage. So, yeah, be popping over there.
It really is. So much going on Always Watching. So go make sure you're subscribed there. If you're watching Geeky TV, it's likely we're covering stuff you watch. So go subscribe on Always Watching, and check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast when you get a chance. We're doing fun stuff over there. So we'll be right back next week with more multiverse news. Peace.
You stay classy, Multiverse.
Hey, thanks for listening to Multiverse News, or watching it, or whatever you're doing. Eyeballs or ear holes, whichever thing. We do this show every week, and we appreciate you listening. Strandedpanda.com is where you can find all of our podcasts. And thank you for listening. Check us out wherever you get podcasts. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the little bell icon, whatever you have on whatever service you're doing. Rate us, like us. We're really thirsty. That's what I'm saying.